Hello and welcome to the May 25th Virginia Opioid Abatement Authority Abatement Academy. My name is Jennifer Nelson, Virginia Institute of Government Assistant Director for Membership and Engagement. The Virginia Institute of Government is the leadership development and community engagement arm of the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Service at the University of Virginia. Through our research and leadership development programs and local government engagement initiatives, we continue to work toward our vision of good governance, equity, and resilience in every Virginia community. VIG offers leadership development through SEI and LEAD, local government equity clinics, certification for and commissioners of the revenue, and customized training programs. State agencies and local governments can access a range of consultation and support services to build more resilient organizations. We have a team of seasoned public sector leaders and subject matter experts ready and available to facilitate boards of supervisors, city and town councils, leadership teams, strategic planning retreats, and other related events. Today, VIG is glad to partner with the Opioid Abatement Authority for the Abatement Academy series. This is presented every second and fourth Thursday through 2023. Here's a few housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and posted on the Weldon Cooper Center for Public Services YouTube channel soon. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat and I will ask them for you. Thanks again for taking the time to join us today for this second Abatement Academy session. Now I'm happy to turn things over to the authority's Executive Director, Tony. Tony?
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Tony McDowell from the Opioid Abatement Authority. Thanks for joining us. We're excited to bring a special group of speakers to you today from CARITAS, Emily Lehmann and Benjamin Carr. You see them on the screen. You guys can wave. So just a quick introduction for our guest speakers. Emily Lehmann is a graduate of Virginia Commonwealth University, where she earned a master's degree in teaching, a bachelor's degree in English, and a post-baccalaureate certificate from the nonprofit management program at the VCU L. Douglas Wilder School of Government and Public Affairs. She's currently part of the Leadership Metro Richmond, LMR, class of 2023, and was voted top 40 under 40 in 2022 by Richmond's Style Weekly. Emily's lived and worked in Richmond and the surrounding area her entire life. She most recently worked at SOAR 365 as the Assistant Vice President for Day and Respite Services. In her 18 years of experience in human services, she successfully led multiple programs, grown services, and had a positive impact on the community. She serves on the board for the Girls on the Run Greater Richmond as the secretary. So welcome, Emily. Benjamin Carr, also from CARITAS, developed and now manages the newest CARITAS program, the Recovery Residences, which offers a safe, substance-free living environment for newly sober men and women to live, save funds, navigate resources, connect to the local recovery community, and build habits to support long-term sobriety. Ben began his participation at the Healing Place in 2017 as a participant, and he applies his own experiences in his work every day. He's a CARITAS Works graduate and an alumnus of the Healing Place. He has since earned several honors and certifications, including Certified Peer Recovery Specialist, Registered Peer Recovery Specialist, DBHDS Certified Revive Master Trainer, and he's a former member of the Board of Directors for the Virginia Association of Recovery Residences. And so Emily and Benjamin are volunteering their time today to talk about the approach that CARITAS provides for full range of services for folks in recovery. And I want to thank them on behalf of the Opioid Abatement Authority for sharing their comments with you today. And with that, I'll turn it over to Emily and Ben. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Tony. Today, we'll be talking about CARITAS's wide range of services and how we are able to provide a robust level of care and a continuum of care within our family of programs. The services here at CARITAS are designed around the individual. We work towards saving lives by focusing on recovery capital within our recovery services, as well as providing a continuum of support far reaching beyond just the the duration of our programs. To give a brief history of CARITAS, CARITAS began in the 1980s. It originally was a loose affiliation of congregations. In fact, the name CARITAS, you'll always find it in capital letters because it's an acronym for Congregations Around Richmond Involved to Assure Shelter. That loose affiliation of congregations getting together to address the homeless population in Richmond really took a turn towards formalization in the late 80s, around 1987. It was formalized with case management put in place. CARITAS recognizing that there was a gap in services with regards to great that we were providing shelter, but what do we do from here? So we worked towards getting that case management in place and start working with the individuals while we were providing shelter to give them a chance to better their lives moving forward. In 2005, the Healing Place, which is a recovery organization out of Louisville, Kentucky, started off with a 4-bed detox affiliated with VCU Health, opened a freestanding program for men on the south side of Richmond that provides long-term behavior modification and treatment services to individuals coming out of typically homelessness, or there weren't really a whole lot of options at that time here in the Richmond area. With the Healing Place being in place, in 2006, CARITAS took on a permanent home on the north side of Richmond. We had administrative offices. We began to operate the case management services in, again, yet another more formalized manner. And in 2008, around that same time, the Healing Place and CARITAS kind of started to get together, but the furniture bank also came to fruition, recognizing that there was a need, again, another gap in services where individuals were finding housing, but they didn't necessarily have furnishings or even a bed at that point. And we started working with referral partners outside of CARITAS to connect with other housing agencies, individuals if they were fleeing a domestic violence situation or had a house fire, something along those lines. It served as a way to be able to provide furnishings to those in need. In 2011, when the Healing Place and the CARITAS kind of formalized their merger, the Healing Place had in place a rather superficial life skills program that was about 2 weeks long. Recognizing the benefit of that, and that CARITAS began its WORKS program, which is a workforce development program. In 2019, again, identifying the gap in services with relation to women in the Richmond area. We had a long-standing dream that was really 8 years in development that began to come to fruition in 2019 when the groundbreaking for the CARITAS Center, also on the south side of Richmond, about 1.5 miles from the Men's Healing Place. We undertook building it's a roughly 130,000 square foot facility that serves as a home. We opened in 2020 and began the first women's emergency shelter here in Richmond. We also opened up the Healing Place for women, and our recovery residents took off at that point as well. We continued to grow along this timeline. In 2023, we took on the appointment of our new Chief Executive Officer, Karen O'Brien. And as we look towards the future, we're moving into CARITAS 2.0 and how we can still identify gaps in services and continue to grow our programs. Looking at the problem as it stands in our area across the state and nationwide. Opioid use resulted in 2,229 deaths in Commonwealth of Virginia in 2021. That was an increase of 16.4% in the prior year. The city of Richmond, the Richmond Times-Dispatch in November of 2021 declared Richmond the overdose capital of Virginia. We have the dubious honor of being the leader in opioid-related overdoses. In 2021, there were 238 deaths. Those figures and how that looks when compared to the spectrum of programs here at CARITAS, over 50% of our recovery residents community reports opiates as a problem drug. That's numbers coming from 2022. 26% of the participants entering the healing place tested positive for an opiate. And 7% of the shelter participants self-reported having a drug use disorder. 89% of our healing place participants self-reported having drug use disorder. It's important to note that self-reporting, we know the vast impact that substance use disorder has on housing and homelessness, but with the self-reporting of 7% of shelter participants coming into our emergency shelter program, we have a lot of cross benefit between having these robust programs under one roof, where we can kind of work towards providing services across different programs. Speaking of those programs, here at CARITAS, we operate 5 uniquely individual programs. We have our low barrier emergency shelter, the Healing Place, which has a men and women's campus, our recovery residents and recovery services. That's the newest program. Our CARITAS Works workforce development program, as well as our furniture bank. Breaking those down a little bit further, we'll start with the Healing Place for men and women. It is a long-term peer-driven, low-barrier residential recovery program. The program itself is founded on an idea of accountability, peer role modeling, and peer counseling. It is self-paced with a curriculum of recovery dynamics. It includes components of our workforce, CARITAS Works workforce development program, as well as a conjunction with the sober living environment of the recovery residences. It also includes being able to meet service needs of individuals in the program with regards to mental health care, primary care for medical, anger management, parenting classes. In 2022, there were 886 men and women served through our program. It's almost 300,000 hours of recovery classes. And a number that we're uniquely proud of is nearly 70% of our alumni are sober after 1 year of completing the program. The workforce development program, in conjunction with the Healing Place, the participants coming through that process are find jobs within 1 month of completing the workforce development program. If you look to the side of your screen with the layout of how that program progresses, it starts from day 0, where individuals have access to our social detox. It's important to note it's not a medical detox, but it does provide 3 to 7 days of stability where an individual is under observation. If they're in need of medical attention, we can connect them to the appropriate resources. Gives them time to get on their feet, kind of take a break of themselves, and before they enter into the motivational track of the program. And Off the Streets 1, which is the beginning of the motivational track, individuals begin to attend classes and meetings. It gives them an opportunity to kind of test the waters and see if the program is right for them and make their own decision whether they'd like to stay or not. That component of the program is about 30 days long. And once completing that, They go into the second motivational track, which is off the streets too. They continue classes and meetings. They're engaged to find sponsorship. They start to develop a commitment to their recovery, introduced to the broader recovery community through 12-step groups, attending meetings. They also, because we're a peer-driven program, they start to have job duties within the program, whether it be through housekeeping or food service. That portion of the program lasts about 2 weeks. Once they complete that, they enter into really the heart of the program, which is the phase component of the program. They begin to focus on the recovery at their own pace. They have the curriculum to guide them through with assignments and classes that are required to progress through the program. As they go through, they begin to learn how to apply the principles of the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. They're working directly with a sponsor and a peer mentor within the program to guide them through that process. And that takes approximately 6 months to progress through that. Once they complete the recovery dynamics curriculum and they've actually met with their peers and with their peer mentor, and it's decided that they're in a position that they're ready to move on, their file becomes closed and the educational component of the healing place comes to an end. Once that occurs, they're engaged in our CARITAS Works program for workforce development, allowing them to learn and practice the skills they need in order to find and keep a job, to be able to learn how to do resume building. They get an opportunity to go to mock interviews. They learn how to write and present an elevator speech, allowing them to speak in towards gaps of their employment or any criminal history or otherwise that may require them to be able to speak to that so that they are a prime candidate moving into the workforce. Once they complete that workforce program, they are then introduced to Job Club, and as the numbers that were mentioned before, usually within a month, they are able to find employment. That employment is confirmed, and then they move on into the transition component of the healing place, which is in conjunction with our recovery residences. They pay their own bed fees. They're required to set aside $50 a week for personal savings, improving their personal capital. They're continued to engage in the recovery program, which consists of attending 5 meetings a week, as well as coming to a weekly community meeting of their peers for accountability and role modeling purposes. After a minimum of 6 months, they can then apply for their status as an alumnus of the healing place. And that is decided upon by a community of their peers. They present a plan for continued sobriety to their peers. Their peers are then able to ask them questions, verify the solidity of that plan for continued sobriety, and then they take a vote on whether that person should receive their alumni status as a group. Once they become an alumnus, the way that process works, it's a lifelong status. They are always eligible for services within our community of programs. It's important to note that over 90% of our participants who receive their alumni status continue to stay with us and actually move into our recovery residences at that point. We serve, we are open to individuals from really anywhere. But as far as our top 10 localities of individuals that we serve, of course, it's local and central area with Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield, Petersburg, Hanover, and Hopewell. We also have a big impact in the 757 area in Southeast Virginia with Newport News, Virginia Beach, and Hampton. Of course, Southwest Virginia, Roanoke has a big presence in the population we serve. But it's important to note, if you look at the graphic on the screen right now, It is really all over the Commonwealth that individuals join our program at the Healing Place. Also, as of last year, we had over 100 participants from out of state that joined our program as well. I mentioned the workforce development program in conjunction with the Healing Place. It's actually its own standalone program as well. We have individuals from outside of the Healing Place who come through our workforce development program. It is a standalone curriculum that's able to be operated outside of the walls of CARITAS as well. It is its intention is to guide participants to attain sustainable economic security. Does so through teaching us to be productive, independent, joyful, and service-driven members of the community. It is a 6-week, 8-hour-a-day job readiness and life skills development program. It has character building, career development, and computer training. It focuses on soft skills like listening, communication, punctuality. It has classes that are designed around utilization of Microsoft products using Word, PowerPoint, Excel. It also has extensive resume building. And then we partner with individuals outside of our organization. A lot of corporate partners here in the Richmond area participate in the interview process for mock interviews. We have interview suites on site that kind of do a simulation of various interview environments that allow individuals to have experience before they go out into the workforce of meeting with, one-on-one interviews, panel interviews, doing phone interviews to really give a real taste of what they're getting ready to experience. Job Club provides services beyond graduation from the workforce development program to allow individuals to have the support that they need to submit online applications, connection to community resources, and support from a career development specialist while they're going through that process. Not only does that exist for the time while they're immediately after they graduate from works, there's also at least 2 years of job placement support after works, including continued access to the computer labs and development specialists, job sources, and networking. We also have a monthly afterworks meetup that includes a lot of times presentations from previous works graduates involving things such as working towards getting your own business license or self-employment, entering the real estate field, finance management, various components of professional development that are beyond the works program itself. So beyond the works program, we also have our CARITAS Furniture Bank. That was begun in 2008, or excuse me, 2011. The Furniture Bank was established out of the idea that having a roof over your head was not a substantial solution to housing. Once people would move into housing, they then may not even have a bed to sleep on. So the Furniture Bank came out of this idea that it was a gap in a service that we were equipped to address, and we did. So basically, the way the Furniture Bank operates, it has gently used household essentials that are donated from the local area, Richmond, Henrico, Chesterfield. We serve individuals and families within that same area. They're referred to us both internally and externally, so they come to us either through our programs, through the emergency shelter, residences, or the Healing Place, or from outside referral partners in the continuum of care here in the Richmond area. Case managers and their participants, after they submit a referral, they set an appointment, and then they come and actually shop through our warehouse with volunteers to pick out their items for their new residents. It's based on family size and dwelling size. And in addition to that, with the warehouse being in position to assist with the workforce, they also provide forklift certification classes. In 2022, they served 661 households. That was 953 adults and 801 children. And 736 beds were distributed last year. The recovery residences, as we talked, it's the newest program under the CARITAS umbrella. CARITAS Recovery Residences are Virginia Association of Recovery Residents certified. We are an LGBTQ plus friendly environment. We serve men and women. Medically assisted treatment is welcome. It's level 2 and 3 housing. Those are certification distinctions that are made through the Association of Recovery Residences regarding the level of peer and staff supervision and programmatic details. We try to operate at a price point that's affordable for our community. Our starting rate is $120 a week for bed fees. The regional average here in this area is between $150 and $160. So we fall well below that. It is modeled after our recovery experience with the Healing Place. So it is community and peer based as well. In 2022, we had 211 unique residents, and our average length of stay in 2022 was 186 days. Providing long-term support for individuals coming out of treatment to start to work towards building their recovery capital and helping to build their capability of sustaining long-term recovery. We work with the Virginia Department of Health as a naloxone partner program. We have a signed memorandum of understanding with them that allows for the direct dispensation of naloxone. We have 10 certified Revive trainers on staff. Those are kind of peppered throughout our various programs so that we operate a revolving schedule, making sure that 100%, as close to 100% of the people that we serve as possible receive that training. Those are based on average length of stay with, for example, shelter's average length of stay is 60 days. So we have a Revive training in the shelter program every other month. Within the recovery residents, we actually have all of our incoming residents receive a rapid Revive training as well as a box of Narcan. And of course, all of our staff are Revive trained, both upon their onboarding process, but also we do a standalone Revive training as a staff meeting about twice a year. In 2022, we trained 876 individuals, distributing 787 boxes of naloxone. Of those people trained, we had 12 confirmed positive reversals. That's 12 lives directly saved by the work that was done through that naloxone partner program. The impact of programs such as these is further reaching than just within the walls of our programs. We had an individual who was a former resident of our recovery residences who received the training while he was with us, was in the vehicle with somebody after he had already left that had apparently overdosed, and drove the individual back here because he knew that there was naloxone on site and he was trained to use it. And that individual's life was saved by that further reach of that education and information. So it's, again, something that is not just confined to the walls of CARITAS. So when it comes to the recovery services and the continuum of care, we focus on this idea of building recovery capital. The way that we do that, recovery capital kind of boils down to these 5 components. These are the measures of positive capital. Personal capital is pretty much defined as like a person's skills, value, education, employability. It also includes their, personal property and financial stability. We try to address that through our engagement with volunteerism and with employability and working with the workforce development program, helping them to save money when they're in the transition plan or the healing place, helping them to find employment and maintain it. Social capital is defined by basically an individual's social network and the resources they have in interpersonal relationships. Through our connectivity in the recovery program and push towards sponsorship and mutual aid groups, we help to develop out that social capital. Also with the network of people and connections that we have within our program. Community capital is essentially the access to local resources and peers. We hold regular recovery events, as well as we have a monthly community meeting with our residences. We have weekly community meeting within our transition component. Within the shelter, they hold a weekly house meeting as well. And then also we provide connection to other resources through peer navigation and our community partners. Another component of recovery capital is the commitment to their recovery, which is literally the buy-in to a sober way of life and ownership of their personal recovery. We help to teach them what it takes to succeed and have opportunities, as recovery is not a linear process, for them to work their way back if they have a slip on their recovery journey. Give them an opportunity to try again and redouble their efforts. And we assist them with behavioral contracts if they need a higher level of engagement in their recovery. Another component is the quality of life, which is an individual's self-esteem, safety, and self-worth. We help to provide them with personal satisfaction, a safe place to live, and a safe place to heal. We offer them the freedom to make choices, and we continue our services like Works, Job Club, events, and Furniture Bank to increase that quality of life beyond our services. The chart at the bottom is what is called a Recovery Capital Index. Recovery Capital Index is a metric based off of self-evaluation that reports their strengths in the above mentioned categories, and that is offset by unmet service needs and barriers to recovery, which we'll be talking about in a moment. Over calendar year 2022, our recovery residents experienced a 29% average increase in their recovery capital index. Now, when we talk about that index, it's a number based off of self-reporting their positive capital, but then also identifying unmet service needs and barriers to their recovery. And then that gives that index. And what we want to see, of course, over time is that recovery capital index to increase. When individuals come to our recovery services, the level of unmet service needs and barriers are extraordinarily high. And then through the robust services that we offer, we address those needs and remove those barriers to give individuals a better chance of sustaining their long-term recovery. This self-reporting evaluation process is through the RECAP system, which is Recovery Capital. We have an initial evaluation at day 0, where on these two charts, you can see the high levels of unmet service needs and barriers. Then they do a self-evaluation again at day 45, day 90, day 180, and so on. And the idea is to meet those service needs as the individual identifies them. We have alcohol service need, drug treatment need, employment, family relationships, housing, mental health care, and primary health care. So to connect them to the resources in order to meet those needs. And then Also to remove the barriers to their recovery, which are identified as accommodation, substance use, risk-taking, criminal justice involvement, and a lack of work training and volunteerism. As we connect them to the services that we have here at CARITAS, we remove those barriers and meet the needs of the individual to enhance their recovery. So when it comes to the continuum of care and not just treating substance disorder and housing needs, the idea of recovery, there's typically three components that are looked at, which is the education that's involved with informing people of the dangers of using substances, of what addiction looks like. Then there's the treatment aspect, which treats the acute symptoms of the disease of addiction, and is in place, with 28-day program or medical detox, and those align with treating the acute symptoms. But for long-term recovery, there's an idea that you're not just treating the disease. There needs to be more support for an individual moving forward. The idea of prevention being sufficient is not quite true. The idea of treatment alone being sufficient is not quite true. But those things are needed for somebody to get into recovery services and long-term recovery care. We do that by caring for the entire well-being of the person through things that may not necessarily seem substance use involved, but it's building that capital. That includes obtaining identification, building a community of people, the workforce development and afterworks program, and the increased employability that comes with that, and certifications and trainings. Furniture bank, which adds to their personal capital in their home. Housing navigation to get them there, and the commitment involved with the working the way back program through behavioral contracts. For us here at CARITAS, that continuum of care is a never-ending process. As talked about with the Healing Place alumni status comes a lifelong kind of membership. That's true for all of our programs here. This idea of providing such a robust level of care is not something that we could do alone. We have partnerships with fellow organizations that provide us an immense level of support, such as the Department of Behavioral Health and Developmental Services. They assist us through state opioid response funding, as well as technical consultation. We work with local governments, including the City of Richmond, Henrico, and Chesterfield County. We are Virginia Association of Recovery Residents certified. The VAR provides us not only with some financial support through funding, they have technical support through our RECAP system, as well as they're on board for advice and advocacy with situations as they arise. They also provide a level of accountability for our program for our residents, so that they have another level of accountability for us. We work closely with the Daily Planet Health Services. For those of you not in the area, I'll explain what the Daily Planet is. They provide a robust level of care themselves that includes behavioral health, medical, dental, vision. They have medical assisted treatment options there, group counseling, one-on-one psychiatry. It's a veritable one-stop shop for addressing unmet service needs here in Richmond. They provide a lot of support to us, both with our behavioral health as well with our primary care, both in the shelter as well as in the Healing Place Recovery Program. We've already mentioned the Virginia Department of Health, the assistance that they have provided us with the naloxone partnership program. They also serve to provide us advice and counseling for health-related issues in an organization as large. Outside of the organizational support that we receive, we have a lot of manpower that's necessitated to carry all of this out. That includes volunteers and interns, willing participants who come and help us to serve meals or bring donations, in-kind items for program participants, participate in furniture builds. I talked about the corporate partners volunteering, from like Capital One or Luckstone that do the actual mock interview process for the works class. They also teach classes, write resumes, and practice interviews. And then we often receive interns out of Virginia Commonwealth University, Virginia State University. They've been great partners as well, helping to develop out the next group of individuals that'll be carrying on this work. And outside of the manpower and support, obviously to have a level of services such as CARITAS carries out is not a small financial burden either. You can see in 2023, we rely heavily on contributions and grants to support our mission. And then, when it comes to just the program services we provide, that's over a $5 million price tag on that. The expenses have always risen. It's just the nature of the world, I suppose. So in line with that, CARITAS's expenses have continued to rise as well. Hourly wages have increased with the introduction of a multitude of programs with individuals on different spectrums of healing. We've increased staff ratios to maintain that safety. And we've invested a lot more in our management and senior level staff to continue to develop out our programs and identify and fill those gaps in services as we've always kind of done. So in order to carry out this mission, it's a substantial financial burden, and one that we're looking at extending those partnerships and working towards how we can develop out more contributions and grants so that we can continue to look for ways in the future that we can be of better service to the people that we're already serving, as well as to fill gaps in services as they may be needed, here in the Richmond area or across the state. So with that, finally, I believe everybody will be shared the slides today. You have contact information regarding how to access our shelter as well as our healing place. And I hope that if you find somebody in need, you don't hesitate to use the resources we've provided you. So with that, I believe that'll bring us to the end, Tony, and we're open for questions.
So everyone, if you could put your questions into the chat. Very good. How is the immediate family incorporated into the life of participants in the healing place during this phase, during its phases?
So that's a fantastic question, first off, and one I did not hit on. So I really appreciate that being asked. So we have connection with Family Resource Services. We also have connections with another community partner called North Star that they do like a weekly family group for the loved ones of people who are in recovery services. Additionally, we also here in at the CARITAS Center, we have a family visitation suite. So if there are, say a mother is able to have her children visit and stay the weekend. Once they get to a certain component of the program, they're able to request a stay in that family visitation suite, and they can actually have their children come and stay with them it's kind of like a weekend pass, but actually on property so that the kids can be here. And if they have any need for supervision, whether it be like Department of Social Services or something like that, we can accommodate that as well. And then we also work closely with, at least I can speak directly about our relationship with Department of Social Services, with individuals who are in the apartments, trying to accommodate having family meetings or unsupervised visits. We work closely with them to try to get them connected.
Thank you. Are you involved with or encourage residents to engage with local workforce development board or Virginia Career Work Centers?
So I'm assuming that's like talking about the Virginia Employment Commission and maybe other workforce programs that are here local. We utilize them for certain things if there's a particular instance where we may need to get somebody connected. They're almost carrying out a similar mission as the Works program, so it's like mutually beneficial. If we're lacking in one thing, we can reach out to them and vice versa. So that's a little bit more of a kind of symbiotic relationship, as opposed to like we rely on them for one in particular thing.
Very good. Could you expand on the partnership of VDH, naloxone support, and do you think Narcan is going over the counter will affect the program?
So I can expand on that. The naloxone partnership program, we started in I think it was 2021, and what that looked like was I connected through the Virginia Department of Health, the contact with them. I was originally serving as a medical reserve corpsman and a trained revive trainer, and I went through contact with Virginia Department of Health to get connected with their Department of Pharmacology and work on that MOU to get the naloxone partnership program. I see the link in chat, there it is. With that being said, so with it coming over the counter, which I believe is fantastic, by the way, I think that's absolutely wonderful that it is. It will still be a prohibitive cost, and it's not all that likely that somebody who would benefit from harm reduction is going to go into CVS and buy naloxone. I think it's probably more beneficial for family members and concerned community members, and working with people in a harm reduction kind of arena, being able to kind of meet people where they're at while they're in treatment or in shelter or seeking other services, and then for it being able to be provided at no cost. I don't believe that it'll change our program hardly at all, to be honest.
Very good. Does CARITAS have any familiarity or experience working with drug courts?
Yes. So there is a bit of a distinction between the healing place and the recovery residences on this note. The healing place historically does not work with court orders. And a lot of that is because if anybody here is familiar with drug court or any kind of deferred judgment programs, they have a pretty stringent requirements for those programs as it is. And that interferes with the structure of the Healing Place Recovery Program, which in itself has pretty rigid and exhaustive requirements. So the two can't really coexist at the same time. With the recovery residences, we work closely with drug courts and deferred judgment, as well as community service boards, in order to, and we will accept court orders like on bond agreements, etc. Because we don't have the level of programmatic requirements that interfere with the requirements that are already in place with drug court and deferred judgment programs. So we at CARITAS are familiar with working with them. It's just handled differently in our recovery housing versus our recovery program.
Understood. Thank you. We don't have any other questions coming in. Emily, did you want to say anything? I feel like you've been a nice participant, but I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak as well.
Benjamin covered most of it. I will add to the question about workforce development. Our director that oversees our workforce program and training here at CARITAS works very closely with a lot of the different networks within workforce development in the area. She's part of one of the Continuum kind of greater workshop within the workforce development program. So although, as Benjamin spoke, our program itself is a workforce development program. We've trademarked it. We are working on getting that curriculum out into the community, but she does, and we are very well aware of working with others.
That's great. All right, well, we're coming up just on our hour of time, so I just want to respect everybody's time and thank everyone for coming to join Emily and Benjamin from CARITAS for their time. Thank you for sharing with us about CARITAS's continuum of care. I think it's going to give a lot of folks ideas on how to move forward, and look forward to an email coming towards the end of next week with a video link for this, so you can watch it again and you can hang on to those slides and check them out. And just another reminder that the Abatement Academy series continues every second and fourth Thursday through 2023. Thank you. Tony, is there anything you want to add to the wrap up?
Yes, just at the beginning of the call, I mentioned that we were going to be adding all the information about the Abatement Academy to our website, and it happened during this session. So I just put the link on the chat, so you guys can go to our website. The link, we have two different there's two different addresses you can use to get to our website. There's the long state one, or you can just type in voaa.us and click on the tab that says Abatement Academy, or you can use the link that I just put in the chat. So thanks.
Thank you for the breaking news, Tony. Want to thank you, everybody. Take care. See you in a couple weeks.